welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a woman who knows the entire script of this entire episode and is currently drinking coffee. It's Megan Hoffmeyer.
Coffee.
So you already know what we're talking about tonight. You know everything that's going to go on. I just got half the script.
It's not going to end well.
Why do you keep saying that?
I don't know.
Yeah, so, Jim gives me half the script. You don't even know the things. I've helped that guy out so much. That jerk.
He just gave you your scenes?
Yeah. You got the entire script?
Yeah.
You know what Posey Juarez is going to do?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm jealous.
I don't know about the aliens, though.
So that was in the script. So, The Dead Don't Die, we're talking about, directed by Jim Jarmusch, released in 2019. We love this movie.
It's funny. I was thinking about how many times we've watched it. And the first two times I saw it were on an airplane. I liked it enough to watch it again on an airplane. And that's not the best experience. And then I watched it with you.
Twice. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, at least. We love this movie.
It's just fun. There's so many weird moments. You can just kind of keep revisiting it and seeing little quirky things. It's just pure entertainment. And
I know a lot of people have watched this and kind of thought, wait, this isn't what I was expecting. I was expecting Zombieland. Or I was expecting Only Lovers Left Alive. And what they got...
So moody.
Yeah, what they got was just there's a neat... I forget where I pulled this from, but someone said that it was sandpaper dry and sometimes slapstick broad. This movie. I mean...
Oh, that's a good quote.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta find out who that is. I'll put it in the review when I put this up for the podcast. But it's this movie where you're not double tapping people. Tallahassee, Woody Harrelson isn't around wiping people out. And then you don't have the moody, stylish, really beautiful pouting of Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston hanging out in Detroit, driving around, hanging out with Anton Yelchin and Mia Wasikowska. I mean, just beautifully filmed, jamming out. I mean, I think people were expecting a variation of that, but what they got was something that I think is really funny. And I dug every single moment of this. And
I do too. It makes me so sad when people think it's not a funny movie, because it is deeply funny. It's just, I think you have to be on the right wavelength for it, maybe. I'm not sure. I do love that in all of Jim Jarmusch's interviews, he talks about how he didn't want scary zombies. He did not want typical zombies. He's not really into zombies.
He loves vampires.
Yeah. He thinks they're so moody and they've seen so much and they're worldly, and he just wanted to make a zombie movie.
It seemed like he wanted to make a homage to Night of the Living Dead, because in this film, you have so many little scenes where Bobby Wiggins, played by Caleb Landry Jones, in his gas station. Bobby's gassing things, and everyone calls him Frodo Baggins for some reason. But he has a Night of the Living Dead button. He has a Night of the Living Dead pin. They talk about Pittsburgh. That's where they shot Night of the Living Dead. In the movie, they're driving around a 68 Pontiac Le Mans.
Yep.
In Night of the Living Dead, they're driving around 67 Pontiac Le Mans, because that's when they shot it. Mm-hmm. So I guess they could have gone back to 67, but this is kind of a homage to the slow zombies. And also, this is also homage to Dawn of the Dead, where there's a quote where the zombies return to the mall for their consumerism. They wanted to go back shopping and find most familiar. And in this one, the zombies want coffee,
iPads,
Chardonnay. I have a whole list of everything they want. Oh, they want Starburst.
More iPads.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to just give them an iPad.
They want their material stuff.
Yeah, and but it's not really hit over the top with it. It's just a fun little film. And we were doing some research and we watched Coffee and Cigarettes the other day, which I watched by myself, Megan, at the Terra Cinemas in Tallahassee. Ooh. When it was still open. I was the only one in there, and it was a beautiful experience. But he was originally going to do little vignettes with Steve Buscemi's character, the kids in the juvenile detention center. Mm-hmm. They were going to be all little vignettes of people dealing with zombies, and then it spread to what we have now. And I think it still works. I love the narrative of it.
Yeah, I don't know why it ended up not working, but I think it still works in an essence. They come together and then they break apart into their little groups, and the way Jarmusch talked about it in several interviews is he isolated them and they just sort of got to react to things and just have these strange little conversations and just be weird.
Yeah, while zombies were attacking.
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at it, you have the hipsters from Cincinnati with Selena Gomez in there. She actually went up there for a week in the Catskills and shot, and paparazzi were all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's gotta be intense.
And her and Bill Murray became good buds. Bill Murray was a little worried because he's such a carny, and he wants on sets to just be carny folk, and everyone's cool. He doesn't like the suits, but then they became good friends. So if you look at Zoe, Jack, and Zach, they are in their hotel room. Then you have Steve Buscemi and his Keep America White Again hat in his house.
At his farm, yeah, with the chickens and the cows that are running away.
Where's my chickens? Where's my cows?
The dog that's hiding under the truck and won't come to him.
And so he did split everyone up really well, but then what he made was just something much different, and I dug it. I know there's a lot of budget constraints and they had to shoot day for night, but at the end it's a funky, fun movie.
Yeah, it's weird. There's just so many moments. I think the last time that you and I watched it, we picked up on silly stuff that we hadn't necessarily written down before. It's just really fun to get surprised by the weirdness all over again.
And it bums me out that we're such huge fans of Lucero. They're one of our favorite bands.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't know who Sturgill Simpson is. But now we want to go to a Sturgill Simpson... I was going to say Sturgill Simpson coffee. Sturgill Simpson concert.
I mean, that would be great, too.
Oh, he needs to do The Dead Don't Die.
I want a Sturgill Simpson mug.
Whoa, there it is. Now, I have a question. You're playing a coffee drinking game for this film. We have to pick 5 things. Drink every time someone says yuck.
Oh.
Right? Drink every time someone says a wild animal or wild animals, plural. Right? What else could we add in there to do? Kill the head.
Anytime they say coffee a lot. Yeah. You want to go get some coffee and donuts? Yeah,
it's like 10 p.m. All right, so that, and then we need one more. So every time you hear it, you have to drink...
iPad?
iPad. Then every time you hear those 5 things, you got to drink coffee.
I mean, as long as it's just a nice hot cup of coffee and I'm not taking shots of espresso every time, that's fine.
I have a question.
What?
We're veering here. In coffee and cigarettes, who would you most like to have coffee? You don't have to have cigarettes, but coffee with, or tea, and all of those groups.
Goodness.
Of all those people.
Maybe Alfred Molina. He was so nice and friendly, and Steve Coogan was just being an ass.
Yeah, he's being so terrible. Alfred was so nice, wasn't he?
He was excited. He talked about his hiking group. I would love to join Alfred's hiking group.
I'd have to hang out with Rizza and Jizza and drink their tea.
Yeah, they were
herbal
pretty
tea. Because you know how many things he could really help me out with his doctor stuff, except for the oven cleaner that Bill Murray gargled?
Yeah, I just like caffeine too much, and they were anti-caffeine.
I mean, I'm not trying to dig too much into this. I just want to bring up another thing. In Only Lovers Left Alive, you had Tom Hiddleston talking about the zombies, and he was referring to the humans as zombies.
Yep.
So when he made this movie, I think a lot of people wanted to build this narrative of how Jim Jarmusch is angry about climate control. Not climate control, that's in a home. But he's
mad at the AC in our house?
Yeah, exactly. He's mad at global warming. He's mad at this. He's zombies. But he's been talking about zombies for a long time.
He
Years
has,
now.
yeah. And he talks about how they are zombies inside of our social structure, and they're eating away from within.
Oh.
And that theme does carry across both movies. Now, in The Dead Don't Die, they are literal zombies who are rotted and coming out of graves. And in Only Lovers Left Alive, they're...
metaphorical?
Yes. It's more of a analysis of what we think people are.
Yeah, So when I was reading interviews about this...
I think they're in the same world.
Yeah, I would love that. Because, zombies, vampires...
I have a question here. Could this live in a world with only lovers left alive? Answer, yes.
Absolutely. I would say so.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. And what do you think about the name of this town, Centerville?
It's a movie reference.
Yeah,
no, it's a music reference, isn't it?
Yeah, to an album that came out. So people dug the Centerville album, so they turned that out. And then also, one more thing I was going to say. I love when they pause the map and they're surrounded by intercourse.
Oh, that was something we noticed for the first time this time.
Yeah, Periples, Walker Town, get it?
So
Walker
funny.
Town.
Yeah, walkers.
There's such a weird blink and you'll miss it humor to this.
Well, the same thing with the footage on the TVs as they're doing the news reports. We noticed that this time as well.
Yeah, there was about 6 times the screen flicked to something else, like a zombie face.
Mm-hmm.
I dug it.
Creepy.
Subtly
creepy and off-putting, much like the day for night shooting.
And you know what's interesting about that? A lot of people talked to the cinematographer, Frederick Elms, about this, who also did Patterson, which I adore. And then he did Broken Flowers and Coffee Cigarettes with Jarmusch. But what he talked about was, and this is something obvious, he's like, when you shoot at night and you're shooting in a graveyard, you need to light everything. You need to have a massive light. So I've shot in graveyards at night. And what they had to do was to simulate the moon, they blew up this massive, almost balloon-esque thing with LED lights in it to make it seem like the moon was coming down on it and to supply light.
Replicating it with tons of light.
And they didn't, in The Warriors, that movie that I love, the cinematographer just put lights and trees. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I needed light. Who cares if there's lights and trees? I just did it. And they didn't want to do that. And also,
you say that a lot about TV shows. We'll be watching it and there'll be light streaming through a tree at some weird hour of the day, and you go, "Why is that light there?"
I don't get it
all the time.
I mean, I know
this is normal for us.
I know you have to light it, and they didn't want to go that angle, and they wanted to make it look different. Of course, make it look like an off-kilter.
No, but vibe. You make a lot of sense because if you're walking through a forest, there wouldn't be a random light beaming at you.
Never, and I don't understand it. The other day, I was watching a movie that I love, The Wolfman, which I think looks beautiful, and it won an Oscar for its makeup effects, and has a 7-time Academy Award winner costume designer. But there was a light that was going like a 90-degree angle into I'm sorry, it was parallel with the ground.
Yeah.
And it was coming through the very bottom of a window. And I know even if the sun is setting, that angle wouldn't happen. So someone just put a light and just went boom to shoot it in there.
Maybe they had a mirror.
And it looks beautiful.
They beamed it.
It looks beautiful, but I was like, why?
But could you really see the dust motes, though?
I did.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, they did their job. I mean, they created a gothic look, but they couldn't, in this movie, they couldn't afford to light a graveyard. They couldn't afford to light an entire street. That's expensive. And that takes generators. And that takes grips. That takes electrics. I mean, that's new rentals. That's so much more money, which they didn't have. So shooting day at night gives it a little off-kilter vibe. I mean, the moon's funky anyway in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's got weird lines of green stuff all over it. It's kind of buzzing and glowing.
So I think it makes sense that they shot day for night. But that was a weird question. People kept asking the cinematographer, so why'd you do it? I'm like, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, I don't know, man. Like, we use optics. This movie, it's purposely mismatched, too. The optics that they use, they wanted different flares. I mean, this is not full screen, but you found it, right? What was the aspect ratio of this movie?
1.83 or 9 to 1.
Yes.
It's very close to a 16:9, so, your standard PowerPoint or widescreen TV.
And just takes up the entire... There's no...
It does. If there are bars, we couldn't see them on our TV.
Do you think people were a little annoyed that it wasn't as lush and sumptuous looking as Only Lovers Left Alive? It's not a flat film by any means, but it's more focused on the dialogue, not the camera, whereas Only Lovers Left Alive was about the mood. I can see where if you come into this with preconceived ideas that you might be annoyed. I mean, that's definitely that's a vibe. That's the way people are now. They have an idea. That's why there's demographics. That's why there's genre followers. And in the LA Times, Jarmusch said, "I can't make a film for a demographic. I'm just going to make the film I'm going to make." I love it.
So he's not making it for a specific audience to meet their taste. He's making the film he wants to make, and I respect that. He wants full control over the movie, even though the actors do call him a collaborator.
Can I ask you a question?
Always. There's
a scene where it's Chief Cliff Robinson, played by Bill Murray, and Officer Ronnie Peterson, get
Cliff and Lil Ronnie.
But do you get it?
I get it. Patterson.
Yeah. Get it?
Yeah.
So they're driving, and Ronnie says a line, and then Bill Murray goes, "Are we improvising here? Are we off script?" Was he saying... Did he go off script on that?
So I saw a reference to that in an article, and Jarmusch wasn't even quite sure. He thinks that they might have been, but he thinks that Bill had it in total control in his head and just kept going with it.
Wow. I'd love to work with Bill Murray.
So I have a funny story about that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Jarmusch told a story about how Bill just likes to be Bill on set, and one day in full uniform, Chloe, who's Officer Mindy, and Cliff Robertson, which is Bill Murray, and Adam Driver, who's Officer Ronnie Peterson. They were all in uniform. They went off in a cop car. And they're in the middle of nowhere, and they went